One thing you should know about me is that I argue with anti-sentis in comment sections all of the time. And the main reason why is because all of the information and the arguments they give to me to prove that Adrian is in fact not a senti is usually completely false. Like, they pull this information out of who knows where. They misinterpret what's being said within the show, or they just don't understand how sentis work. And I typically hear the exact same arguments over and over and over again. So I decided to start a series where I disprove anti-senti logic. And for our first edition of this series, I wanted to talk about a comment that I got on a video where I was explaining how Adrian was a senti and how representation proved this. So the comment says, "To all the people that think Adrian is a senti, Adrian as Cat Noir was cataclysmed in Miraculous. If he was a senti, he would have spiraled out of control, but he was struggling for health. I swear, if I had a dime for every single time an anti-senti has brought up this argument, I would be so rich." Miraculous' power was basically to take the essence of the Miraculous's power and use it. She never had the actual Miraculous, so the powers weren't as strong. Essentially, anyone, and I mean anybody, could have gotten cataclysmed by her and nothing would have happened. I mean, yeah, something would have happened, they would have gotten hurt, but it wouldn't have been anything serious. Like, the power wouldn't cause any actual damage. And as for sentis, the power wasn't strong enough to make the senti go haywire. If Miraculous had cataclysmed, let's say, Reflectall, I'm telling you, nothing would have happened. And also, this logic is very, very flawed for one big reason, and it's that we have seen what happens when someone who's not a senti gets cataclysmed. Gabriel was cataclysmed in Season 5, Episode 3, Destruction. Gabriel was obviously very affected by this. Instantly after being touched, he had a little part on his arm that was very, very dark. If Miraculous' power had been just as strong as a normal cataclysm and Adrian wasn't a senti like you're claiming, there would have been a lot more damage done to Adrian than just him feeling a little bit of pain. Okay, I guess technically it wasn't like a little bit of pain, it was quite excruciating, but you get what I mean. He would have had a really, really big and bad wound like Gabriel had in Destruction. So the fact that he didn't, senti or not, clearly shows us that her power was not as strong as a normal cataclysm and cannot be used as evidence to prove or disprove that he is a senti. This next one kind of made me laugh, and it says, "Emily and Natalie should have had the same time frame of being rendered null. Natalie used the Peacock Miraculous and died in 6 months before being revived. This means Emily can't have lasted long after using it. Also, Gabriel didn't even have the Miraculous until after Adrian was born." What? And the biggest reason this one made me laugh was just because this comment had almost 200 likes, and most of the replies to this comment were all people saying that this person brought up so many good points and their information was so accurate, and I'm just like, okay then. Basically what they're implying is that Emily never used the Peacock Miraculous, and they only ever found the Miraculous when Colt wanted it, supposedly, as they said, after Adrian was born, which boggles my mind. For starters, Season 5, Episode 1.
"There is another way to use the Miraculous of the rabbit. You could go back to a time before Emily used the damaged Peacock Miraculous. You can save your wife, Gabriel." This holds the information on how to repair the magic jewel so that Emily never becomes ill using it.
Natalie says straight up that Emily used the Miraculous and got sick, aka died, from it. And also, in episode 24, we can very clearly see one pregnant Emily telling Gabriel to go give the Miraculous to Colt. And not long after, Felix literally says straight up that a few months later, Amelie and Emily both gave birth to their babies. And we all know that Amelie used the Miraculous to get pregnant, so there is no way that they got the Miraculous after Adrian was born. And with the first part of their comment, I'm not surprised that this would be something that they would be confused on, because on a surface level, it really does not make any sense. But you guys have to remember that Emily only ever used the Miraculous once. Natalie used it many different times on many different occasions. The Miraculous is of course going to harm her a lot faster than Emily. I mean, think of it this way. When you use a broken Miraculous, your fate is already set. You are going to die. There's no stopping it. But somebody who continuously uses it is going to have a lot more damage because of it, aka just making them die faster. If Natalie had only ever used the miraculous once, then yes, of course, they should have died in the exact same amount of time, but they didn't because Natalie used it so many different times. And once again, this is a very flawed argument because in the episode Felix, we learned that Emily had been dead for a year. Also in that episode, we learned that Felix's dad, who we now know as Colt Fathom as of multiplication, died not long after Emily had died.
Do you remember our shooting contests? I'm really sorry I didn't come to your dad's funeral.
And then, in Season 5, Episode 24, Representation, we very visibly saw him use the miraculous, and because of that, he slowly started dying. And based off of the information from both episodes, we can infer that it took about 13 years for him to succumb to the wound of the miraculous, meaning that it is very likely that Emily used the miraculous and it did really take her that long to die. And also, while we're on the topic of Colt and Emily, I feel like it's a good time to bring up when they both died. If Emily did use the miraculous to get pregnant, which is basically confirmed at this point, she obviously used it a few weeks or months before giving the miraculous to Colt. And like I said earlier, Emily died slightly before Colt died. Essentially, she died weeks or months before Colt died. Suspicious, no? Anyway, moving on with the comment, their last main point is, in the New York special, Uncanny Valley said that she can't see magic, and Adrian was visible as human, like everyone else. If he was a senti, he would have appeared either a different color or not at all. Let me let you in on a little secret. Adrian is not magic. Adrian was created from magic. As you said, he was visible as a human. It's almost like Adrian is a human. Mind blown. To be honest, no matter how many times I explain this, I still feel like people won't understand, but I'm still gonna say it anyway because y'all need to hear it. A senti is not a species. It's a label. It's a category. A senti is whatever it was intended and created to be. You want to create a dog? It's a dog. You want to create a rock? It's a rock. You want to create a doll? It's a doll. Nothing about it is different. When Emily created Adrian, she created a human, so Adrian is a human. Nothing besides the way he was conceived is different. So yeah, Adrian showed up like a human to Uncanny Valley, but not because he's not a senti, it's because he was a senti created to be a human. Basically, a human senti is not a completely different species from normal humans, which is also why saying Adrian is half human, half senti doesn't work. He's not half of anything because a senti is not a thing that he can be half of. Senti just tells us how he was brought into this world, not what he is. What the person who created him wanted him to be tells us what he is. And the very last bit of this comment says, as for representation, this specific episode, most of you saw it wrong. It only confirms Felix to be a senti, not Adrian. But it's like, yeah, you're right. It confirmed that Felix was a senti, obviously. Doesn't mean Adrian isn't one. This episode chose to specifically focus on Felix and his story. They were focusing on confirming that he was a senti and his experiences with being a senti. Yes, they definitely 100% gave us proof that he is a senti in this episode, but it was very subtle because that was not the main focal point of this whole story. I'm gonna say this and I want you guys to listen very, very closely. Just because it wasn't explicitly said outright that he's a senti does not make him not a senti. Another thing that I wanted to bring up is something that wasn't stated in this comment, but it is something that I feel goes along with it. A little bit ago, I actually made a TikTok talking about this topic, so I'm just going to show you that video. Ever since episode 24 came out, the one argument that I hear anti-sentis try to make all of the time is that Adrian can't be a senti because Emily had a natural birth. And you know, I was thinking about this argument and just how false it was today, so I went to Instagram and I posted this on my stories, but I felt that I needed to share this here too. Here's what it says. I know most of you guys believe in the senti theory, but for the few anti-sentis, please, for the love of God, stop saying Adrian isn't a senti because it was confirmed that Emily had a natural birth. First of all, Felix said Emily got pregnant, and then said her and Amelie both gave birth a few months later. Nowhere does it say she had a natural birth. Second of all, based on what you're trying to prove, I'm getting the sense that a natural birth doesn't mean what you think it does. A natural birth is giving birth vaginally, no medical equipment such as epidurals, which is true theoretically. She did give birth naturally, but birth and conception are not the same. The natural birth doesn't mean he's not a senti. If Felix said that Adrian was conceived naturally, then yes, your argument would be valid. But that's not what he said, is it? Now, I'm pretty sure what people mean when they say natural birth is just the fact that, she gave birth. But that is not a good argument, because whether Adrian is a senti or not, you can still give birth to a senti. In the episode, it was confirmed that Amelie got pregnant with Felix, then gave birth to him. And we know for a fact that he is a senti. Most of you guys wouldn't disagree with that. But anyway, with all of that being said, that is all I have for you guys. But if you guys are interested in hearing me debunk or disprove more anti-senti logic, feel free to let me know. These videos are going to be honestly so much fun. Plus, I really love talking about Adrian being a senti and talking about all of the proofs. So yeah, if you guys are interested in another video, let me know.